Welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, episode 22. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G4Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rutino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
What's going on, man? I'm in a great mood. I'm in an amazing mood this episode.
You're in a great mood?
I'm in a great mood. I'm in a great mood.
Fill me in, Dan. Fill me in. Why is it that... And I'm very happy that you're in a good mood right now. I want to know why. Give me the backstory.
It's life, man. I'm just in a great place.
You're just in it. You're in the zone. I see.
I'm in the zone, and I'm not even talking about the wine that I'm drinking. I was in a good mood before I had the wine.
Oh, okay.
You know, listen, life is pretty good. It was an annoying day, but life is I'm in a good space right now.
You know, I would agree, Dan. I think I'm all right there with you. Tomorrow's Friday. It's gonna be a nice weekend, apparently. All right. Summer is finally here. All right.
Summer's finally here, even though it doesn't really feel like it. But
today not so much. But I think over the last couple weeks it's been pretty nice outside. It's been sunny. You know.
I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. Right.
Oh. All right.
So I hit 5,000 games this year. A feat I didn't think I would hit this soon. Right.
Oh, and I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised it took you so long to get there. I think you were you were picking and choosing towards the end.
Oh, I gotta eat, right?
It's true. It's true. You can't
I need to eat. I gotta wear. I can't go outside butt naked.
You're probably at about a 15 to 20% chance that you'll find something that A, you don't have at Goodwill, B, is in fairly good condition, and B, you're willing to spend whatever the price is for it, right? I am still in the somewhat... I can't find the Modern Warfares or the Maddens or the whatever anymore. I got most of the big common games that you'd see, all the big 360, PS3 games and everything else. So I'm starting to feel that a little bit, but I can still go in and usually find something I don't have and go, all right, I'll get it. But
no, I want to say, doing the Saturday Morning Retro Show, when we started it, we're already on episode 22, right? Mm-hmm. So when we started at 22, I think we missed a month. We missed only 1 month.
Well, 1 or 2,
23 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was more so to force us to play our collection. Right? We had so many games, and it was like, what do we pick? And
I have been very much accused of being a shelf displayer. I think that's the nicest way to put it. A shelf displayer. I like having games.
I do too, even though my shelves look terrible because I have so many and so little space.
I need to get
a bigger house. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I am working on, hopefully before episode 50 of Saturday Morning Retro. I'm giving myself a little time.
2 years? Another 2 years? Is that it? Because we do one a month.
I'm gonna give myself a little bit more time.
And don't rush it. You got to find the right place. Got to find the place that speaks to you. Got to find the place that has room for your video games. This is all. It's all very important.
Well, I have much more than video games, Dave. I may be an active video game collector, but my collecting days started with comic books and trading cards, and I have a decent amount of comic books and trading cards. I'm not going to say I have, a crazy amount because I don't. And every card or comic book I own is from the late 80s, early 90s, from when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're all, they're all at least 30 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. You know what I have in my collection, and then I'll let you continue your story, because I only have I have less than 10 comic books total in my collection.
But none of them come from video games. None of them were included with your video game.
Well, actually, I did have. I don't have it anymore, but I did have a Super Mario Brothers comic which was awesome. It was the plumbers were living in Brooklyn, and they went through the pipe to save Princess Zelda or whatever. And I thought it was great, but I don't know. I ended up losing it. But no, I have Spawn #1 in very good condition. I opened it to read it, obviously, but I remember because my brother bought it for me. We were in the mall, way out we were at the Smith Haven Mall, and in the center there was like a comic vendor. And my brother bought me, I think, 2 comics. I forget what the other one was, but I'll get you some comics, right? They were only a couple bucks. You know, he had a job and all that. So get you some comics. This one looks really cool. And it was Spawn #1. It's a great comic.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's impressive. I applaud that. I actually, I don't know if I have anything that's worth any money. I know, and I've probably said this on the regular show early on when we first started. I have complete collections of like most of those Marvel series cards that came out in the early 90s, right?
Oh,
like
yeah. The ones that had all the stats on the back. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if they're worth anything collectively. Now, individually, cards usually aren't worth anything. It's like the collection is worth something.
You want
right?
the set, yeah.
Yeah. I worked my ass off. You know how many dishes I washed? You know how many times I took out the garbage to get money just to buy those cards?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And yeah, we talk about loot boxes and gambling for kids. I kept buying the pack of cards, and you never know what's going to be in that pack. So I had not doubles and triples. I had quadruples of certain ones, and you go in and try to trade them to get the one that you don't have. But those mean a lot. Because I worked hard for those, my junior high school day. Sure. So I just want to put it out there. I got, and also I have, not only comic books and cards, I have action figures still in the plastic from the 90s.
Oh, damn.
That I still have, and I don't have a chance to display because I have no room. So I do hope to get a game room that I can also put my comic books, cards, and action figures out completely and display my nerdy heart out. So,
what is your favorite piece out of that time period? Action figure, card, whatever, figurine. What's your favorite piece from that time period?
Man, that's hard.
I know, right?
I'm gonna say all right, 2 things. One, my mom. There are 2 things. My mom bought this series, I forget, this WWF back in 94. I'm gonna say 94 or 95. No, not even. It had to be 96 because Vader was in it. It was it was before they were the Attitude Era.
Right.
Before they were the Attitude Era.
It was like new generation. Yeah.
It was still the new generation era, and she had bought like all the every single action figure. Like I think it was like 6, 7, 8 of them. Or whatever, like from this series, and she kept it in a closet to give to me for Christmas.
Aww.
But at this point, I was like a little bit too old. Yeah, I was kind of out of action figures.
Right.
Like I wasn't playing with action figures anymore, so she never gave it to me, and it stayed in the closet because she forgot about it
in perfect cherry condition. So there you go.
Yeah. So I went one day. I was looking for something. And I was going through the closet, and it was like the hallway closet, and I found an 8-track player. Had no idea what 8-tracks were. And I found this bag full of action figures untouched. And she said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about those. Those are supposed to be a Christmas present for you." But at this point, I'm like in late junior high school, going to high school, so I'm kind of not in that. Like you're not in action figures anymore. And she just forgot about it. And it was in there for like a year or 2 years or whatever. Those I put away. I said just keep them in the closet, and I still have them to this day. Thank God, because back in those days I was purging, of anything I had.
Yeah.
Right. Selling, taking them, or donating them to Goodwill.
Right.
So thank God I didn't do any of that with that. But I will say something that means prized possession that means so much to me, not monetarily, but just for me, it just means to me personally. Is I have the complete set of the Spider-Man series. I don't remember what the name of it was off the top of my head.
The trading cards? The
trading cards, yeah. Oh. Every card was a piece to a puzzle. So it wasn't it wasn't like it was just the individual card with their stats in the back. It was the individual card with them doing something, and it was like a piece to the puzzle, and it took forever to get the whole collection. And my mom,
sure.
I was so excited. I was so excited when I got it. My mom, who is an artist. She's not an artist by profession, but she's an artist as far as, she has talent. She can paint, draw, and sculpt on the side. She had got me a red binder and painted Spider-Man's, drew Spider-Man's head and painted his face on the binder for me. And said,
Nice.
Here, you can keep your collection here. And I was like, oh, man, I still have it till this day. And it's like one of my prized possessions because it means so much to me. Because I spent, I don't know how many chores I did. I did a lot of chores. My mom wishes I still, wanted to collect comic books so I could do most of the chores. But, it's split amongst everybody in my household. Those were the days when I did everything. I was like, yeah, Mom, I'll do it. If you could buy me a pack of cards, sure. So, but this is a video game show. But a little peek behind the Saturday morning retro, but that's just Saturday morning, right? Like a good Saturday morning, I would look at my cartoons, trading cards, and comics, and video game. So with that said, Dave, we have an awesome show this month. Okay, we're gonna dive deep into our collection, and we're gonna talk about Tetris for the Game Boy, the OG Tetris, and we're gonna talk about the NES and a little game called Mighty Bomb Jack, which I can't wait to talk about this game because I have some maybe not so fond memories from back in the day. I don't know if I'm totally nostalgic for this game.
Okay.
This game was a point of contention growing up for me, and I'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh, all right. Because I got some memories on this game too. So, all right. Yeah. We'll get into it.
But we always start Saturday Morning Retro Show with this month in gaming history. And I got to say, I didn't know this came out in the month of June, but that's amazing that a mega game like this came out in the summertime, right? Like, I guess back in the day, we talk about, real quick on the side, we talk about summer always being like, the dry season. We don't get a lot of games out in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
This was a mega hit. That I can't believe would be released in the summer nowadays.
I don't necessarily know if it's a mega hit.
Well, okay. All right. Well,
it's notable. It's notable.
The original Super Mario Brothers 2, a.k.a. The Lost Levels in America.
Right.
Okay. Came out June 3rd, 1986 in Japan.
Now.
All right.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Because it never came out. Well, it never came out officially on the Nintendo in America,
no.
Because the American bigwigs. I want to say Howard Lincoln. Maybe
thought it was too hard.
Well, it was too hard,
and it wasn't different enough.
Right, and it was those two things together that it was like, well, I don't know if Americans are really gonna like come back to the well and play Mario Brothers again because it was like a souped up version of it, right? They added in mushrooms that could kill you, and there was wind effects and whatever else. But it was really like Mario Brothers 1.5, I think. Not to say it was a bad game, but it's different,
The first taste of what people would say, this is just DLC.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, I think, come on. Okay, well, in Japan, it was a hit. And in Japan, this was a mega game, right? So that's what I'm saying. Maybe not out here, but in Japan, it was a mega game. People love Super Mario Brothers 2. They love the challenge. The original Super Mario Bros. 2. They love the challenge that it posed back then. And this came out. Did this come out? This didn't actually come out on a Famicom. This was the Famicom disk system, right?
And it was the highest selling, apparently. 2.5 million copies on the Famicom disk system. So, big in Japan, as they say. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I would have played it. I may have been frustrated by it. A young Dave may have tossed his controller across the room. I don't know, because it is very hard. Because they did bring it out eventually over here, and now you can get it anywhere, play it anywhere through the virtual shop, or the Mario All-Stars has it famously. You can play Mario 2, and also the Lost Levels, which is kind of cool. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, you get any good pickups this month?
I did. It did. So I think I mentioned it on the regular show that I bumped into somebody who was moving out. Well, actually, I bumped into his trash because I saw the Switch box. Right, it was just the cardboard box, but it was in good condition. So I was looking at it, and then I was looking at it long enough that the guy who was throwing stuff out came outside, and I was like, "Oh, is it cool if I take this?" I don't know why I asked, but I asked anyway because he was there, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just throwing it out." And then I asked the follow up, which is important. It's the question that I learned from CJR on YouTube, who's a Canadian game hunter. He frequently goes out to garage sales and all that, and he always asks the question, do you have any other video games? Do you have any old video games? Do you have any whatever? And a lot of the times they're like, oh, you know what? I think we may. And they'll drag out a GameCube or a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo or whatever. And I was like, hey, do you have anything else that you're looking to get rid of? I would gladly take it. He goes, yeah, I think I do. Hold on. And he comes downstairs. He gives me a backpack with the 360 and a ton of video games and 3 controllers.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. And it didn't seem like he wanted anything for it. Although I didn't really think in my head. I would have probably bought him a 6-pack or whatever. I would have been like, hey, can I get you some? I didn't really think about it, but he didn't. Also was like, no, you can just have it. I'm like, oh, it's fucking awesome, man. Thank you. So very appreciative. In that collection, some highlights: Mass Effect 2, Final Fantasy 13, Soul Calibur 4, Soul Calibur 5, Injustice, the DC fighting game, Dragon Age 2, DMC Devil May Cry, Prince of Persia, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Wow.
Now, we'll caveat there. A lot of these boxes were kind of beat up, so I had to do a little switch around, right? Because I have some extra cases that either are empty or don't even have a thing in them. So I cobble them together to make them look good. So I was able to add a couple of those to my collection, which is awesome. And I most recently, actually earlier today, I picked up Chris Tales for the PS5 for $9.99. That is
it is on sale for $9.99 across the board. So
yeah, well,
at least at GameStop.
It is it's on a deep discount at GameStop. I don't know why, but you got to pick it up. It's a PS5 game. They normally go for $70.
Yeah, well, it's $8 still too much for me to buy. Not really into that style of game. I've seen it multiple times, and it's just never appealed to me to pick it up.
Well, the discount should appeal to you. The discount should appeal to you.
Even at $9.99,
it would normally be $70 or $60. That's 90% off or 80%.
No, Chris Tales, I think, came out to $40. I think it was
even still
when it came out.
Even still, that's
so it's
80% discount.
So it's $30 off. So
yeah, that was pretty good. No. Well, I don't know. I was very happy with it. So, but that's what I got this last month. Well, what about you, Dan?
All right. Well, I did get, and I don't know if I talked about this. I didn't post this on Instagram as of yet. I did get some face plates for the PS5. And at the time, I had ordered it a while ago. Totally forgot about it. I got that deep purple because it was the only one that was actually available. I did pick up the black ones today, right? So I should get that in another 2 weeks. But I do have some I do have the face plates.
Now these are the official Nintendo ones?
Official, yes. PlayStation
or PlayStation. Sony sorry, yeah. Okay.
I will say this though. I will say this. And I know when this post is going to be long gone. PS5s were available on PlayStation Direct. If you have a PlayStation account, they were available for purchase. Now. Definitely good. It took forever. It took 30 minutes for me to get in. I wasn't looking for a PS5. I was looking for the faceplates. Mm-hmm. And it took 30 minutes to get in. When I got in, they were still there. I put it in my cart just because I wanted to test it out, and I could buy it. I did not buy it because I already have one. And I didn't want to buy another. The only thing I would think about buying would be the digital version, and the only one that they had was the bundle with Horizon. I just, again, don't want to spend another $500, especially in the non-disc version, getting the code for Horizon. Didn't want to do that. But
Sure.
this does tell me that it's readily available, and GameStop, I think, either had it in the store or going to have it in the store soon. There's going to be another drop. So there's hope out there. If you haven't picked one up, there's hope. They're coming in the stores. That's a good sign.
It's kind of crazy that 2 years out, a little less than 2 years out, still hard to get stock. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's crazy. Man.
But yesterday I picked up the Bailiff amiibo.
Bailiff.
Didn't know.
Oh, Bailiff.
Bailiff. Sorry, Bailiff. Didn't know that. I totally forgot this was coming out. There was no fanfare on it online or anything. Usually I see it on Twitter that a new amiibo's out.
Yeah,
I did pick that up.
I thought it was out already, and I thought I had it already.
Maybe another version, but this is the one where he's holding sort of like a fire sword.
I think it's she.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't know that because I'm not into that
Fire
series.
Emblem. Yeah.
At all. So
I'm pretty sure you can't select. Maybe you can select the gender. I forget. I know in like the previous ones you could do male or female, so it could be a gender neutral amiibo to cover the bases. Anyway,
okay.
Sorry.
Fair enough, but he or she has the a sword that's like on fire.
Yeah.
It looked cool. It looked cool. I knew I didn't have it, so I picked it up.
Nice.
For the PS1, I didn't even know this game existed. I got Twisted Metal Small Brawl.
Yeah. A little chibi version of Twisted Metal.
Yeah, I didn't know this existed, so I had to pick this up so I can have every Twisted. I thought I had every Twisted Metal game. I was wrong. I picked up this game for the PS1 called Wild 9.
Oh, yeah.
It looked wild.
Yep.
Just that one's okay. I got for the DS complete inbox Spider-Man 3. Just like the movie Spider-Man 3.
Nice.
I thought this would be something that I would really play. This game is all about the touch controls for the dual screen. If you want to, you can't just use it as like a platformer and jump and run. Like you need to use the touchscreen for the game to work. And I don't know if I like that. I tried it out for like 15 minutes and I was just like, I wasn't in the mood for a touchscreen. I just wanted a regular side-scrolling platformer, action platformer, and this isn't it. So I don't know how I feel about that. I got Pokemon Rumble Blast for the 3DS. This, you want to talk about super cheap? This I got for $10 at GameStop.
Nice. I'm surprised they had it.
I'm surprised I had it too. Yeah. I got Blood Rain Betrayal, Fresh Bite. Fresh Bites from Limited Run for the Switch. I got that. That was the new game in the series. I got Heat Seeker and Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron, both for the PSP. I didn't realize that Codemasters made aerial flying mech games. Like this is crazy. I thought they were just like the racing aficionados, but no, they did flight sims too.
Okay.
Heat Seeker.
Nice.
That. I don't know if you ever heard of this game, Orphan Scion of. It was Orphan Scion. Where is it? I don't even know where I have it now.
Yeah,
for the PS2.
Yeah, I want to say it was
I think it was Scion of Sorcery.
That's right.
Sorcery.
Orphan Scion of Sorcery. I want to say it was a launch title for the PS2. If not, it came out like right after the system came out.
I can't seem to find it, but I know I had it. I know I have it somewhere. I probably left it upstairs.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly okay game, as with most of the PS2 launch titles.
I'll try to fly through some of these. I got New Zealand Story Revolution for the DS, the original DS. I got Blast Corp for the N64.
Classic.
And this I paid $0 for, but Dave will debate me on that because I used my Lukey points. And you got a game that goes for well over $100. I got it for $0. When I hit checkout and hit pay, I paid nothing. for this game, and that is NCAA Football 14.
Oh yeah, that
PS3,
one is
for the PS3.
That one's one of the only expensive franchise sports titles, because most of them are like $1, $2 at best.
Yeah,
because this was the last college football game on the system, I think, ever. Right? I don't think EA has gone back to the well on that.
I think you would be correct. I don't know why it's the last game.
But I want to say licensing issues, probably, because you have to deal with all the different conferences, right? There's the SEC and the Pac-10 and the Big 8 and the Big 10. Like, there's all the different conferences. You have to get all the licenses from all the schools. Like, there's a lot. Like, it's not as simple. I say simple, but it's not as easy as the NFL, right? The NFL, basically, as far as I know, has 2 licenses. There's the NFL license for like all of the teams, the likenesses, the stadiums, all that stuff, and then there's the Players Association,
correct.
NFLPA, yeah. So that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Right, and those are like the 2 big ones. And anything else, if they want it, like ESPN Presents or whatever, that's a separate thing, but that's not necessarily like tied to that. You can just get your own announcers and have them do it. But yeah. NCAA is a big ball of wax.
I'm gonna give a big shout out to my last 2 pickups, to Retro Wolf 88, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, yeah.
Right? He definitely has claim sales on his Instagram, and I definitely had to jump on these to booster my Sega Master System collection. I have Action Fighter, complete in box, and I have Ys the Vanished Omens complete, complete in box. Now, growing up, I always thought this was called Wise.
I think everybody did,
because it's a Y apostrophe S.
Yep.
But it's I always thought so. I feel weird calling it by its real name. I just want to say I got Wise the Vanished Omens, because that's what I would have said as a kid.
There you go. I think the Vanished Omens may be the first one.
I don't know, because I'm not really into the E series, but you're right. That potentially could be the first one.
It's definitely early on in the series. I believe it's one of the mainline games.
And it's from 1988.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
All right, that's it for the collection.
Nice,
Dave. Before we get into the next before we get into our segment, jumping into our backlog, we have to take some time and go over our top 3. And this is where I love this, that we're going to alternate, during shows where we'll have our top 3 and then we'll have our triple R, mix it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And in this month, our top 3 will be our top 3 gaming franchises that need to make a comeback.
Ooh, love this question, Dad. Love this question. Well, I'm going to let you go first, because you always let me go first.
I specifically didn't pick any franchises that were like super old, like from the 80s or 90s that we didn't hear from, right? We haven't. It's been 20 years.
Is that for any particular reason, or you were just like, I want to give myself a challenge?
Well, I know. I'm not gonna lie. It's. I wanted to be. I guess my 3 picks were more hopeful that we see, a resurgence from these
are things
franchises.
You want to see come back. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to talk about Mighty Bomb Jack later in the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
The odds of Mighty Bomb Jack 3 or a sequel or a revival are very slim for that game, or any franchise that hasn't seen a sequel in 20 to 30 years, right? So I was doing something that could be a little bit more realistic, where we can. It's a possibility. It's more of a possibility, because there's always a possibility that Mighty Bomb Jack 3 can come out, but more of a possibility that these franchises can come out, and you'll see what I mean when I get into it. So our top 3. So here's my top 3. I'm going to go, from I really want this to come back to I really need this to come back. Okay. So my 3rd pick is Resistance.
Okay.
We have it. All right. Okay. So that's a Sony-owned franchise that was supposed to be the Halo killer. Didn't exactly work out that way.
Well, yeah.
Right. But that was supposed to be their first person, alien shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we have, we have Bungie in the fold, right?
I see.
Resistance wasn't that far back, right? We got the last.
We got 3 of them too.
We got the last Resistance on the PS3, right? The mainline one, and then we got a Resistance for the Vita, which was highly regarded as one of the best Vita games.
Okay.
So I think that we could get a new. They could revive Resistance. I think this can come back, and this can be a first-person shooter for the. And I'll be honest, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, since they have 25 titles in the works, first-party titles in the works, I'm gonna say Resistance is one of those 25.
Oh wow, big bets. Dan's going all in.
Going all in. We're gonna get a new Resistance at the middle or end of the PS5 era.
Okay.
We will get a Resistance on the PS5. A new Resistance.
You want to make a bet on that?
I don't.
There you go. That's how you can gauge Dan's confidence level. Have him make a bet. If he jumps at the bit right away, you know you're wrong.
I only pick winners, baby.
Exactly.
I only pick winners. All right. This one is definitely with my heart. Okay. I want a new LA Noire game.
Yes.
Maybe not call it LA Noire, maybe NY Noire, or LA or Louisiana Noire, or whatever, Chicago Noire.
Sure. Chi-Town, sure. Mix it up a little bit.
I want a new Noire game. I think it's time. People voiced how much they loved it when it came out on the PS4 and on the Switch, right? And I bought it for the Switch.
I was a big fan of this as well. Had amazing facial technology, brand new. They spent so much money on it. The only issue is, it may not necessarily be an issue because they did do a remaster, right? Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. There's a VR version of it on the PlayStation.
If you have if you have a PlayStation, you can play it in VR.
Right.
If you bought it for the PS4, you can play it in VR. It's not necessarily, a VR game.
Well, no, but they added in kind of some support for it. The only thing is and Rockstar owns it. Rockstar did do in-house, I believe. They did the remasters for it, but the original Team Bondi is no longer, and they had there is a story behind this game for sure. But there is definitely hope because Rockstar did do all the stuff recently. So they're and it did well. It sold really well. So I think there's a good chance.
The remastered sell really well.
Mm-hmm.
There are talks of, there being another Bully game, right, in development. I think these things are real, and I think they're going to come out. Okay, it may not be LA Noire 2, but it'll be Noire something, right? And I think that's what it will be. And probably Chicago or New York or something like a major metropolitan city. It'll be like a Noire. And I would love it.
Yeah.
And I would want it to come out. You know what? Maybe that's the PSVR 2 killer app, right? It's going to be a launch game.
Oh my God!
With the facial. Come on.
All right. You're pressing your luck now. I was with you up until that point.
All right. Well, you know what? I may want to take a bet on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is my number one pick, my top one. I want this, and that is Sunset Overdrive. I want a Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yep.
Right? Sony now owns them, right? They're in-house studio. They own the IP.
Yep.
They could put out a remastered for the PS5, right? Since PlayStation users, never got a chance to play this game because it only came out on Xbox. It was a Xbox One exclusive. It's the foundation for the Spider-Man games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we get it? Why can't we get a second one? And that's what I want. And I'll be honest. If I'm wrong about Resistance, I'm right about Sunset Overdrive 2. One of the 25 games in the hopper that Sony has for us.
Considering they're working on the new Spider-Man game, it's highly unlikely.
And Wolverine, right? I think they're working on a Wolverine.
And Wolverine, you're right. You're right. As much as I want this to happen too, I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Come on. Sony expanded them. And they bought them, gave them an influx of money, and expanded them. They could do it. I believe in them.
Sure. All right. I'll throw my chips on the board. Okay.
Right. So Dave, what's your top 3?
So I went a slightly different route. I went straight up games that I want sequels or remasters, revitalization of the franchise. It's been too long. What are you doing? And all of these companies still own the IP. The original companies who made these games are still in business. They could easily get a team together and put this out, and it would sell like crazy. And those games are, in no particular order, Super Dodgeball, because I think the last time we saw an official dodgeball game was on the Game Boy Advance, Super Dodgeball Advance. It's the launch title.
Correct about that. Yeah.
I think so, unless there was some like weird ones in Japan that we never got here, which was the case pre Super Dodgeball Advance, but I'm not sure anything post. This is in the like Kunio-kun universe, right? It's the River City Ransom characters and whatever else. It's all in that same universe, so that's kind of a shared thing, which is kind of cool. And we have gotten new Kunio-kun games in the form of River City Girls 1, 0, and now 2 is coming out. So the universe is alive. They can make a new dodgeball game. It'd be awesome.
Well, just as a side note, there was a Super Dodgeball Brawlers for the DS that came out like in 2008.
Oh shoot! Okay, only in Japan, or was it here too?
Japan and North America.
Wow, I gotta pick that game up. It's going on the list.
It's probably expensive.
Don't say that, Dad. Don't say that.
DS. I mean, would you like me to look it up while you? Would you like me to look it up?
Yes, please. And I'll go on to my second game, which is Crazy Taxi. That's how you have to say it.
I'm not surprised. I you know what? As soon as we even thought about making this list, I said Crazy Taxi is going to be on this. It's gonna
right? It has to. Crazy Taxi was amazing. They made 3 of them. I think maybe 4. I think there's one for the DS too. First one is the best. It's got Bad Religion and The Offspring on the soundtrack on the original Dreamcast version. Subsequent versions, or ports, I guess you could call it, they haven't had the music because it's a licensing right? You got to relicense it because you get the license for the systems that you say, okay, it's going to come out for PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, or whatever, right? In this case, it was the Dreamcast. It's specifically a launch title for the Dreamcast, so they made the licensing deal for that one console, and you have to renegotiate, right? That's kind of how things work. So subsequent versions, not so great. I don't necessarily want like a remaster, or remake, or whatever, but I want a new Crazy Taxi, right? Put some new characters in there, maybe like bring back some of the old guys as like unlockable hidden characters. Get some modern bands to be on the soundtrack, because that was kind of part of it. I don't even care what city you put it in, as long as like it's kind of bright, colorful, and fun, because that's just what Crazy Taxi was, right? It was straight up an arcade taxi driving game, probably one of the only ones, with a whole booth setup and gas and brake pedals, and you're just flying around and doing jumps and flips and whatever else, trying to get your passengers to their destinations. It's been too long. I believe the last one to come out, besides all of the ports and the whatever else, was Crazy Taxi 3 on the original Xbox, back when Microsoft and Sega were like, bedfellows. So I want this to happen.
I know, and just in case it doesn't, I mean, didn't they put out not the same developers, but a different developer in the vein of Crazy Taxi, Taxi Chaos?
Yeah. You actually, I think you mentioned it. I think you mentioned it on the last Saturday Morning Retro that you picked it up.
Oh, really? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Dan. You're not that old.
I don't even remember if I have it. Oh, okay.
I guarantee you do, and I think you mentioned it the last Saturday Morning Retro. Now, that game is 100% trying to ape Crazy Taxi, right down to the font and the yellowed and the yellow checkered taxi cab on the front. It exudes Crazy Taxi, right? A design aesthetic of Crazy Taxi. Now, is this game anything like Crazy Taxi? It sure wants to be. I don't know. Taxi Chaos, no, not so much.
Well, remember there was a game that came out on Wii that was, I forgot the name of it, and I do have it, and I do remember talking about it on the show. The name escapes me. I have to go check my collection, but it was a game that was like Crazy Taxi but set in London, right? Remember that? Like it's like Crazy Taxi, just like Crazy Taxi, except for it's in London. Yeah, I've talked about it on one of these maybe early Saturday morning retro shows. I can't think of the name. Can't think of the name, but I'm gonna go get that. I'm gonna go find the name. But
all right.
As a side note, Super Dodgeball Brawlers.
Come on.
Yuki has it loose.
Yeah.
For $8.
Oh, there we go. Single digits, baby. Done.
$8.
I'm ordering that game. I'm ordering that game complete. Get out of here. Listen, I'm not a man on a budget. I'm a man with needs, and a man who needs Super Dodgeball. Because I think that would be the last dodgeball game that I need. I have Super Dodgeball Advance complete in box, in mint condition. I have the Nintendo one loose and complete in box. I'll get the DS one complete in box.
And for the Wii, it was called London Taxi Rush Hour.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And that was like a Crazy Taxi,
sure,
in set in London.
I could see it. They have those crazy roundabouts, and they have a gridded up city, kind of like New York, right? And it's got very similar. I could see that being kind of fun. But all right, My final game, and this is a long shot because, well, there's only 3 in the series, and the last time we saw this was, I believe, 2011, I think, and that's Kid Icarus. I love this series. Hip Tanaka did the music. It was made internally, I believe, by R&D1, Nintendo R&D1. Amazing game. They put out a Game Boy game a year or two, I think maybe like 1990 or 91. They made a Game Boy game, which was pretty good. And then they did Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS, which was different. It was more of like an action-y shooter type game, which was also cool, but that was a long, long time ago. We need a new Kid Icarus, all right? I want a good full-fledged Kid Icarus, right? Because it came out around the same time that Metroid did. I want to say it came out in the same year. It was one of the first silver box games. It was Metroid, Kid Icarus, and Rad Racer. They had that new design. They got rid of the black box. These were bigger games. They had password saves in them. I believe Kid Icarus and Metroid used the same engine, funny enough. But, yeah, that one I'm probably the least confident about. Crazy Taxi, maybe.
I think Crazy Taxi would be. I think Crazy Taxi would be definitely the one that would be in the works, because I think sure. Sega did say recently that they would revive old franchises. Right. I think Crazy Taxi is a safe bet that Crazy Taxi is probably one of those franchises.
Mm-hmm. But all of these would sell, right? Like, you think all of these would sell if they come out? I
don't know about Super Dodgeball.
I
don't know if there was another Super Dodgeball game, if that would sell.
Mm-hmm.
What's the art style? Are you still going like that old school art style? You're doing something a little bit more modern, and just being a dodgeball game, I just don't know if that would sell now. I mean, we don't really technically have a handheld. I know the Switch, you use it primarily as a handheld, but I just don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know about Super Dodgeball. Kid Icarus, they could come up with something interesting, right? Make it a little bit more modern. I can definitely see that.
Okay.
And like on the front for me, like I think LA Noire is something that you can use definitely for VR. I don't know if Rockstar is going to put the R&D into that, right? Like, I mean, they should.
I think it'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Sunset Overdrive, I think you're right. That's what my heart too, right? Like
they got too much.
They have
going
so
on
much.
right
They have
now.
a lot.
Yeah.
They have a lot on their plate. But Resistance, that's something that I think could be in the hopper, because for the most part, Sony doesn't have like a first-person shooter franchise, like an annual first-person shooter franchise that they have,
Wow.
right? Like they don't have it.
Wow.
Killzone,
I mean, Killzone's the other one.
Killzone was the last first-person shooter that they put out, right? That was first party, and that was at the beginning of the PS4 era, right? That was a PS4 launch game.
Yep.
So I just don't. They don't have a first person. They have these first person experiences, but no actual shooter. And I think that's missing from their lineup, and I think they want to rectify that. And that's one of the reasons why they bought Bungie. So technically, Destiny is a first party game. I think they need to revive either. I think the Resistance or Killzone, but I would want a Resistance game, right? Killzone already had it shot. I thought it was good. They've given up on it. And that studio's gone to do other things. Let's give Resistance. Let's give Resistance a shot and see if we can improve upon that story. Definitely.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
All right. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll dive deep into our backlog, and we're going to talk about Mighty Bomb Jack for the NES. And we're going to talk about the original Tetris for the Game Boy. And we're back. All right, Dave. It's Saturday Morning Retro, so you know what that means. We dive deep into our backlog, we play games, and we talk about them. And I'm really excited to talk about Mighty Bomb Jack, but I'm going to let you go first this episode. Talk to me about a little game that I loved growing up, and so did my parents. It was the original Wii of its time, and that is Tetris for the Game Boy.
So, I have a story, and it's well, I got a lot to say about this game, but this was not the game that I was planning on doing. I was planning on doing Golden Axe the Duel for the Saturn. I was.
Yeah, it sounded like you said Golden Axe.
Golden Axe the Duel. Well, that would be a very different experience.
I would love for you to play Golden Axe the Duel, because I would love to know about this game.
So would I, Dan. So would I. So, long story short, I tried to play this game, and I have a Saturn controller from a Retrobit, which is amazing. It's very nice, and it's the same controller that I used to play Fighters Megamix a few episodes ago, and all the buttons worked. The start button worked, and everything was hunky-dory. Tried other games, they worked. When I played Golden Axe the Duel, the start button became the left shoulder button, and only X, Y, and Z worked as input buttons. So the start button didn't work, the right shoulder didn't work, and the other three buttons didn't work. So I kind of just assumed it was a 3-button fighter. It is a 6-button fighter in the vein of Street Fighter, with light, medium, heavy, kick, and slash, I guess, because everyone has weapons. So I realized this a little bit into playing it. I looked it up online. It turns out that Golden Axe the Duel and some other games do have problems with certain controllers, but they were referencing the Knights analog controller and how it kind of wigs out in certain games. And this game was just like, nope, it's only gonna half work. And I tried to get into the menu to see if there was like button mapping that I could like switch things around or try and reconfigure and whatever else. They don't have that, so couldn't do Golden Axe. So that's why I'm here to talk about Tetris. The Game Boy Tetris, by the way, the 1989 classic, the one that everybody knows, most people's first introduction to Tetris was the Game Boy Tetris. It is ubiquitous. When you think of the Game Boy, you think of Tetris. So,
well, when was the first Tetris? If this wasn't the first Tetris, when was the first Tetris?
First Tetris was from Alexei Pajitnov in 1984, I believe. I forget which computer systems they were, but they were Russian in origin, I believe. And then they slowly made it to other systems, I think like the Sinclair and maybe like the ZX Spectrum and some of the other European ones. And then it came kind of globally because Japan had a copy. There was one for the Famicom, which was different than the one that was made by Nintendo, right? Because there was an NES one and there's a Game Boy one. There's many, 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 many different versions. Everybody knows Tetris now. It is the Desert Island game, in my opinion. Just about any version will do in this case, but I'm here to talk about the OG one. So let me give you some background on it. I got some stories. There's a lot to this game. Because even though everyone knows Tetris, right? It's a simple puzzle game with very few rules and not a lot of options. There's surprisingly a lot to talk about. So it came out June 14th, 1989 in Japan. Came out in North America July 31st, 1989. And came out in the PAL region September 28th, 1990. This was developed internally by Nintendo R&D 1, published by Nintendo, obviously, released on the original Game Boy, this particular version at least. And I played it on the Game Boy Color. This is the classic Russian puzzle game, right? Made by, like I said, Alexei Pajitnov. Who does actually, he did get all of the royalties and the money. He is, I believe, part of the Tetris company. I forget which company, but there was a company that was formed, and they got the rights, and Alexei Pajitnov is part of that, because previously it was kind of like tied up in Russian politics and whatever else. There's actually a very good video on this from Norm, the gaming historian, that everybody should watch. Goes through the history of Tetris up until, like, I guess, present time a couple years ago. But the way that this came about, so Nintendo sub-licensed this from Bulletproof Software, who their only claim to fame, more or less, with the exception of like one or two other games, which were also puzzle games, were making Tetris games. From the late 80s, I think, up until 2001, they primarily made Tetris games. I believe they made Tetris 2. They made the great Tetris Battlegaden, among other Tetris games. So that was like kind of their jam for a while. But they licensed it from Bulletproof Software, right? And this was, there was this guy, Hank Rogers, because he owned the license from Elorg, who was the Russian company who owned the rights to Tetris at the time. So licensed it from Elorg to Bulletproof Software. Hank Rogers came to Nintendo and said, hey, we have the license for this thing. You should develop it and make it a pack-in title for the Game Boy. And it was one of the greatest decisions in video game history ever, because that was a system seller. Possibly, well, I'm going to say no, the best pack-in title for any video game system, handheld or otherwise. All right, amazing. Like you said,
right?
You know, your mom played it. Everybody played it, right? My brother played it. My parents have played it. I mean, and they're ancient, so it's crazy the reach that Tetris, and in particular the Game Boy version, has. You know, they made some enhanced versions. There was Tetris DX that came out. They made a ton of sequels in the same vein as the original, with like extra features and in color, because the Game Boy was black and white, so that was the thing. It was very, 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 very interesting. And something else, when I was doing some research on this, I did not realize that in Japan, if you bought a Game Boy, there was no pack-in title.
Wait. And Dave was in the packet. Wait, seriously?
Tetris was separate. You had to buy it separately.
Wow.
Let that sink in. What if the Game Boy didn't come with Tetris? What if it didn't come with the killer app? Would it have been as good as it was? Would it have sold as much as it did?
That's a good question. I'm gonna say no.
Right? Because it would have been an additional $30. I think games were $29.99 on average for the Game Boy when they came out. So, and I believe it retailed for $89.99 or $99.99. So it was close to $100. You would have been looking at $1.20 or $1.30. You know, not everybody would have necessarily. I mean, I think eventually everyone would have picked up Tetris because it's Tetris. But you know, there was 5 games in the North American launch. Maybe you went with Alleyway. Maybe you went with Super Mario Land. You know, you may not have necessarily gravitated toward Tetris right away because a lot of people didn't know what it was. They haven't played it before. But the fact that it was the pack-in title, you're like, yeah, I'm going to play it. You know, and it's amazing. It was amazing. So, yeah. No story, if you couldn't have guessed. Although some Tetris games do have a story. So, Tetris Worlds has a story. The one that came out on PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance has an actual story, funny enough. It has cutscenes. It has characters. It's weird. But yeah, this is just, it's Tetris.
What would you do in a story for Tetris? Like, would it be beef between the different shapes? Like, how would a story
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. I think there were some evil shapes who were like kind of trying to take over the land. And every shape was anthropomorphic, and you had to like kind of rise up as a group, and you know, defeat the invading horde. I think that's what it was, more or less. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's essentially what it was. Every like block was kind of had humanoid characteristics. This is very weird. It's very weird. But this Zero Story, the blocks come down, right? You fill up the well. You make lines horizontally, 12 across, right? And you get points. That is the game. That is the story. Game comes with 2 modes, right? Mode A and Mode B. Mode A is endless mode. Just goes on and on. You can choose a starting level from 0 to 9. This affects what speed the pieces fall at. If you start at level 9, you have to clear 90. You have to clear 100 lines before the speed changes. So you're doing 90 line clears at the faster speed, right? If you start at level 0, every 10 lines you clear, the speed goes up a little bit, and it kind of ramps up that way. It's just a way to give you a little bit more of a challenge. Goes up to level 20. That technically is the max level. Once you get to level 20, which I think I've gotten as high as like 14, 15 maybe. It gets kind of bananas at that point, but they're just like skyrocketing down. It's insane. And then there's a B mode, which is a little bit more of a challenge mode where you're supposed to clear 25 lines, clear 25 lines at a given speed. And then for extra challenge, you can change the height. So it's height 0 through 5, which will add debris onto the field. So you have to and it'll be all kind of like little blocks, like random half blocks and whatever else. And you kind of have to fill in the gaps and make lines out of it. If you do this at level 9, any height, but it's speed level 9, you get a nice little bonus song at the end. There's a little symphony that plays. The higher the difficulty in terms of the height, the more instruments, right? They play a nice little ditty in there. So, and that's essentially the game, right? It does have 2-player mode via the link cable. There was a link cable that came in the box with your Game Boy. So every Game Boy that was sold was equipped to do 2-player Tetris, which is awesome. So you did need to have the same cart to play the game head-to-head. But with Tetris, it was packed in, so you were good to go. You knew that you could play against somebody else as long as you had the link cable. So
imagine being on a train at the time and watching people on the subway or the Long Island Railroad just sitting together with their link cable, playing Tetris. Like, that's an actual thing in New York. That there are pictures, if you want, go online. There are pictures of people on the Long Island Railroad, stockbrokers going to work, right, playing Game Boy, playing Tetris on the Metro North, on the train. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. It's ubiquitous. And that 2-player mode is standard head-to-head competition. If you get 2, 3, or 4 lines in a single clear, you'll put garbage on the opponent's side, which they have to get rid of. Right? It'll be a incomplete row, but it'll kind of raise up their level a little bit, which is pretty standard. And then they've kind of built on that concept for other Tetris games with like power-ups and different abilities. Tetris 99 is that concept with 99 other people, which is awesome. That's like a whole nother thing. But the one thing I'll say about the gameplay is this is traditional, old school, vanilla Tetris, right? If you know anything about Tetris, if you play modern Tetris games, right, they have a little box in the upper left-hand corner. This has been standardized. There's actually a style guide, I guess, or game guide. I don't know what you'd call it. That here are the rules of what a Tetris game must adhere to. Like, each piece has a specific color. They're not just random. So if you're going to make a licensed Tetris game and it's going to be in color, it needs to follow this rule. Like straight pieces are like blue or whatever, right? The, I don't know, like the little T piece I think is supposed to be orange or whatever. But they have specific colors. Like they tried to standardize it. So one of the things is like a hold piece, right? Usually you hit like one of the shoulder buttons or select or one of the other buttons. You can take that piece and hold it for later, right? So you kind of have like a piece in reserve. You usually do this with the straight piece. And then when you have a nice big well with a hole, you can swap it out, right? And then just put the straight piece down there, get yourself a Tetris and keep it moving, right? This doesn't have that. It also doesn't have like T-spins, which is a way to get like the little T piece into tight corners. There's some like weird physics manipulation that the pieces do later on that you couldn't do in the original. You could do some like slides and whatever, but you can really get pieces to go in some funky spots in the newer Tetrises. So there are some things that you kind of miss a little bit. You kind of have to get acclimated to like, okay, this is a straight up old school Tetris. There's no tricks. There's no hold pieces. There's nothing. It's just straight up what it is. So and in terms of the graphics, I mean, it's an original Game Boy title, so it ain't gonna knock your socks off, right? You know, it's got the 4 colors with like the lime green tint or the puke green tint. So, I mean, it works. You know, shapes are nice. They're pleasant to look at. Every piece is distinct. They managed to make, you know, little patterns on these things so you can recognize what it is just by looking at the the piece. It's very easily recognizable, so nothing really to write home about, but it does the job. Where this shines, obviously the gameplay, but the other thing is the music. My God. 3 songs in this, done by the aforementioned Hip Tanaka, right? He did Metroid, he did Kid Icarus, he did a lot of games, right? He's up there with Koji Kondo as like one of the legends, right? And he's like old school. He did the music for this. Now, Type B is an original piece that's supposed to sound like traditional Russian music. I think it does. Type C is based off, and I didn't actually realize this, but it's based off Bach's French Suite Number 3 in B minor, which is a very popular classical piece. I listened to it a little bit ago. Can definitely hear some motifs and notes, even though it's like a 2-channel or 3-channel sound chip that's on the Game Boy, but they managed to make that happen. It's very pleasant. It's nice. It kind of sounds like carnival music on the Game Boy, to be honest. It always sounded like a carnival to me. But the big music, the one that was in other Tetris games, other PC versions of Tetris, whatever, that had little PC speakers or whatever, is, and I'm going to butcher the name of this, but Koro Bianiki? Which, yeah.
I mean, it sounds about right, I guess.
So it's based off a Russian poem. I forget who the artist is. I should know this. It's apparently based off a Russian poem. So it has some backstory to it and whatever else. and it is a traditional. Russian piece? It's very familiar. When you hear this, you think of Russia. It is ubiquitous. And Hip Tanaka did a kind of Game Boy chiptune style of this song, and it is amazing. There's not much to it, but I could listen to the song over and over and over. It just gets you in the zone, right? You just start dropping pieces, and it just, you're in it. It's crazy.
The most I want to say Tetris is the soundtrack for Tetris is like the most recognizable, soundtrack like of all time ever. Right? Out of any video game.
Yep.
Like people who aren't gamers, they hear that music and it's that's Tetris, right? So I get it, and we talked about it on the regular show last week about the Grammys having soundtracks, gaming soundtracks as a category, right?
Yep.
Or gaming, video game / interactive media, and we talked about who would we give a Grammy to, what soundtrack would we give a Grammy to, like an honorary Grammy. 100% Tetris.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Tetris, right?
Got to give Hip Tanaka the Lifetime Achievement Award. Give Tetris the award for best soundtrack. 100%. Oh, so everything about this game is amazing, Dan. I mean, this game is a banger. It is the Desert Island game, right? So I know I mentioned that before, but it can't go without saying again and again and again. This game is amazing. And yes, it 100% holds up today. It's a strong contender. You can pick this game up. You can play it anywhere. It's great because you can play it on the Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Light, and play it on the Game Boy Advance. All right, playing on all these systems. Play it on the Game Boy Advance SP with the backlight. It's great.
How about this? You buy Switch Online, you could play 99 Tetris on Switch. Right?
You could.
Tetris everywhere. Every Tetris is everywhere.
That's right. Well, I don't know if there was one for the 32X. I'll have to look that up. But I'd say
I don't think so. I don't know.
99% of the game.com I think had a version of Tetris. The Virtual Boy had 2 different Tetris games. Come on now. In a library that is 15 games strong or weak, depending, had 2 different versions of Tetris. It's crazy. And they were one of them was weird. One of them was like a 3D Tetris because, Virtual Boy's in 3D, so you gotta put that gimmick there. But it's crazy, man. Crazy. All different types of Tetris games out there. This one's amazing. One of the best. Definitely a classic. It is a banger. Now, since this game is so old, this predates Metacritic, right? Predates a lot of the gaming magazines, predates EGM, predates a lot of things. So the one magazine that was around when this came out was Nintendo Power. And Nintendo Power, for their 100th edition of Nintendo Power, in September 1997, this game cracked the top 5. It is the 3rd best Nintendo game ever. 3rd best
According
ever.
to Nintendo. According to Nintendo Power.
3rd best ever.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Do you know what other game is in the top 5?
Well, we're just talking about Tetris, so no.
Okay,
no,
well,
no.
I will tell you.
No.
I will tell you, Dan. I will tell you. I will tell you.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind, Dan. I don't mind, Dan. I don't mind, Dan. I don't mind.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay. I don't want to shift the focus away from Tetris.
Okay. Do you know what other game is in the top 10 greatest Nintendo games of all time?
I don't want to shift the focus away from Tetris.
Okay. You know what? You got to give this to me. Super Mario Brothers 3, number 5. Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI, I believe, at the number 7 and number 8 spots.
Man, how those opinions changed 25 years later.
Now, after all of that, not even in the top 10, couldn't even hit the number 10 spot. I believe it's in the number 12 spot. Super Mario World.
Well, you know.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Dan. Just saying.
25 years later, you know what's not in IGN's top 100 games? You know what didn't make top 10? Super Mario Brothers 3. You know what
That's
game
fine, Dan.
did?
That's fine, Dan. This is a Nintendo product. This is the Nintendo product, a beloved franchise, a Shigeru Miyamoto 10 out of 10 classic, and it isn't as good as
you know what
Final Fantasy VI, which best games of all time. Sorry.
Okay. At this point, Super Mario World, when this came out, this issue was still kind of new. Right, ish. It was only been out for a couple of years. It was the latest. It was Super Mario 64 didn't come out yet. Mario 64 didn't come out yet.
No, it did, and it's on the list, and it's number 1.
Well, there you go.
Mario 64 and Zelda.
Mario 64
1 and 2.
Oh, Ocarina of Time.
Zelda. No. Zelda: Link to the Past, because Ocarina came out in 98,
99,
or 98, 99. Yeah. So it came out a little bit later. So 64, because the launch title.
Ocarina of Time came out 4 years after Mario 64?
I think it was 98. Because it was
3 years?
It was 90. It was 96 in America when the system launched. 98 is when Zelda came out, I think. So it's a 2 year difference.
So Mario 64, number 1. Because it's in everybody's zeitgeist. It just came out.
I mean, it was a classic. Okay. It was here's how to do 3 games. Yeah.
And people were nostalgic for the older games, but as time went on and people got to marinate on it, it definitely overtook.
Well, EGM or IGN or whatever is not just Nintendo games, right? You would figure out of just the Nintendo games, maybe they would raise it up a little bit, but they didn't.
No.
Measured among the greats, couldn't crack the top 10.
Games of all time, all genres, and there are more games out now than they were then. And Super Mario World hit the IGN's top 10. And it's a top 3.
So it should be. It should be easier. It should be easier for Mario World to IGN is
more impressive. More impressive. It's more impressive.
Okay. So that's my
more competition.
That's my review. That's my in-depth review of Tetris, Dan.
All right, but you talked about what Nintendo Power would rate it, but we don't care mostly about what Metacritic and other critics say. The only review score that matters, Dave, is what score would you give it?
Oh my God, Dan! On a scale of 1 to 10, it's 11. Come on, not even a question. Not even a question. 11 out of 10. 11 out of 10.
I didn't know it'd be that low on your list.
11 out of 10. This is a banger. Sorry. It's a classic. Certified classic. It is the Desert Island game. I will say it again. And if you want to get this game, for which I own 3 copies of, by the way. Of the original Tetris. Yeah. I don't know how I got them, but I got them. You can get this on Lukey Games, loose, for a whopping $12.97. That is a bargain. Pick up 3 copies. Give one to your grandma. Give one to your mama. And give one to yourself as a nice little early birthday gift. Because that's how good this game is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So,
all right,
Dan, tell me about Mighty Bomb Jack. I'm very curious on your thoughts.
I'm not gonna lie. This is the first time I can remember having nostalgia for a game, and it 1,000% is not like how I remember it. It is not how I remember it at all. At all. Okay, so I never owned Mighty Bomb Jack. At least I don't think I owned it. I don't remember every NES game I ever actually owned because my father, it was Father's Day. We just had Father's Day. My father wanted to teach me responsibility. So games that I didn't play, he would have me sell to friends to get money and save my money and buy a new game. Right?
Wow. Okay.
And we would sell it specifically to different other kids or grown-ups who played, NES, because at the time, I don't know if it was Funko Land or any of the I don't know if it was called Funko Land at the time, but any retail store you took a game to, they give you like $1 if even, right? 50 cents. So and then repackage it and sell it for $30.
Right.
So we definitely never went to the retail stores to sell it. It was always you sold it to friends. So I don't remember if I played it. I don't remember if I actually owned this game, but I know my uncle had it because, my little cousins had it, and I played it there a bunch of times, and I remember having fun with it and not getting anywhere because I played it like a like a traditional platformer like Mario, and it is not really meant to be played that way. So that's why, like, when I went back to play it for Saturday Morning Retro, I was like, oh yeah, I remember Mighty Bomb Jack. I love Mighty Bomb Jack, and I love that artwork. I love the cover, right, of the guy with the horn, and he's like, it reminded me of like Superman with a helmet.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of reaching up. He's got a hand out with the little bomb in his hand. Yeah. He's got the cape flowing. And
honestly, going back to it, this is a weird game. So this game came out in North America in April 24th of 1986. It was developed and published by Tecmo, right? They made Tecmo Bowl famously, and that was like a big game for the NES. It was released not just on the NES. It was released on the NES, Amiga, the Game Boy, Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC computer, and Atari ST computer.
Yeah.
It was released a lot of different places at the time. And this is classified as a platformer, but with a twist. And I played it on Nintendo Online because I have the Nintendo Online account. And a game like this, it is Nintendo hard. It is Nintendo hard, and I'll get into that in a second. Because I definitely needed the rewind and fast forward feature, on Nintendo Online. Mostly when I got to the later stages, not so much in the earlier stages. Mighty Bomb Jack is I never knew this, so I just found this out. Mighty Bomb Jack is the sequel to Bomb Jack, the arcade game that came out in 1984.
Yep. That's the one. That's the one. I never heard of Bomb Jack. Yeah. So Bomb Jack. Very same character, but it was single screen. Yeah, single screen.
Well, different. Well, yeah, I'll tell you. I'll get into sort of the similarity and differences. I mean, the story behind it is your protagonist's name is Jack, and he has to go through 16 levels set within a pyramid. So this was like in ancient Egypt, right? And you're playing in a pyramid, which I never really paid attention to as a kid. And if you look at the artwork, he's clearly flying around a pyramid.
Yeah.
And in some of the mid stages, it's sort of like Egyptian themed, right? So I never paid attention as a kid, weirdly enough, to that. I totally glossed over the fact that he was in a pyramid.
Right.
And mind you, in 1986, I was like 4 years old. So I played this a little bit later, probably when I want to say when I was like 7, right? 7 or 8, and I still never paid attention to it that he was in a pyramid. So it looks like you have to defeat the demons and rescue the royal family. Totally, again, not like Mario where Bowser kidnaps princess and clearly kidnaps the princess, right? And then you have to go into the game. They really don't give you any backstory to this of like, who are the demons? How did they get here? Unfortunately, I couldn't get a copy of I couldn't find a copy of the manual. I know I have a manual here somewhere, and I don't know if the manual alludes to any of this. I have to believe it does, at least the story, right? But that's kind of crazy that it doesn't really give you any context of, who the family is or anything. So, and back in those days, you had to read the manual to get the backstory, right? Not a lot of, the game itself didn't exactly explain itself to you. Not in a way like Mario did.
Right.
So the thing that makes this really, really hard, and an NES hard, is it is one hit and you're dead, and you only get 3 lives.
Ooh.
Okay,
And that's it?
yeah, that's you only get 3 lives.
Ooh.
That's it. It's a one hit, you're dead. This is like Mario on steroids. You can jump like across the screen. You can jump really high, and you can control your descent, and that's sort of like the hook to the game, where you can control your descent. So in later stages, the platforming gets super, super hard, where you have to jump really high and hit that one block, because there's only one block that's up there, and then jump and sort of float across to get to sort of like the exit part. And that gets super hard, super difficult towards the later stages, as I said. And the hook of the game is there's so many enemies on screen, right? It's like ridiculous how many different enemies that they put on the screen that you have to dodge. If you're coming from Mario to play this, it's totally different, right? Your mindset has to be totally different. Like on Mario, you can jump on a majority of the enemies to kill them, or stomp them out. Here, you have to avoid them, and a lot of times you're jumping so high, right? It's really hard to control your jump sometimes when you're jumping, and you jump right into them, and the enemies don't just go back and forth; they go up, down, and vertical. Like they go all around. So they will jump into you, and you have to do some maneuvering to not get hit. So that was I think that's one of the reasons why I think held the game back a little bit from being more popular, right? Like a lot of people, I think only older heads remember Mighty Bomb Jack. A lot of new people, the new generation, or the generation since, because it's been like 2 or 3 different types of generations after this, they have no idea what Mighty Bomb Jack is, right? So each level is split into 2 parts. You have like an action zone, and then you have like a royal palace room. The first game was all about sort of like a royal palace room, and I'll talk about the royal palace room in a second. But the action zone is what they start you into. They start you into where you have bombs and lots of enemies and different chests, and the chests that you jump on. You have to jump on the chest, jump on it twice, and the chest will open, and it'll contain money, it'll have power-ups and sort of other items. There are a lot of different chests around, and I never knew. It was always sort of like a crapshoot of like, you jump on this chest, you take the time to go into sort of like this little part of the screen to jump on the chest and see what it has, but then now you're trapped because there's so many enemies. And remember, you can't take a hit. You can't take a hit. So now you better hope that you either have power-ups already, or hope there's a power-up on here so you can get out of it, right? Because they can trap you and they won't move. They won't move, and you have to take, and you just have to take the hit. And I ran into that a bunch of times where I rewind, and that's not so much to rewind because I couldn't beat the level. I rewind and said, I'm not going to take the chance to go for that chest to see what's in it, because I got trapped, right? And that's what this game can do to you. And a lot of action zones are designed that way, right? And action zones can go from left and right or up and down, by the way, which I thought was cool. And some of them have different exits. Later on in the game, you'll have an exit here and an exit up here, and you have to collect a certain amount of bombs to open up certain exits. There are a lot of tricks to this game, and a lot of strategy that they don't tell you. Like, you really need a strategy guide you should buy a strategy guide if you really want to get the most out of this game.
Right. Well, as I understand it, there's a secret ending to this game. Is that right?
I'll get into the ending because that sort of tricked me up a little bit. But the royal palace room is sort of the second part of each level, where you're sort of in a room, and it's the end of the level. It's the end of each level, the royal palace room, and you have a room with lots of enemies, and you have to collect 24 bombs without getting hit. And that was essentially the first game,
Yep.
right?
Yep. That's what I remember on the C64, which is awesome.
But what they don't tell you, when you get all 24 bombs, the exit will open, and you have to maneuver to get to the exit. And every time you get a certain amount of bombs, you will have an invincibility sort of ball bouncing around. If you get it, the enemies will turn into coins, and you can choose to collect the coins or choose to collect the rest of the bombs before the music runs out and they turn back into enemy, right? But no matter what, they keep spawning. What they don't tell you, and this is why you need a strategy guide, if you collect when you first get into the Royal Palace room, one of the 24 bombs will be lit. All right. If you collect the lit bomb last, you get to skip the action zone for the next level and go straight into the palace zone. So there is a way to skip. There is a way to skip all the action zones and go straight down, all the action zones for the 16 levels. But it doesn't tell you that, and that's not something that you would even try to do, because there's so many enemies. You're going to try to maneuver to get the bomb when you have an opportunity to get that bomb, right?
Yeah, how would you even know to do that? There's no indication, right?
There is no indication. There is no indication that it's just weird that they do it. I mean, it's a challenge, don't get me wrong. And again, if you're someone who wants to be a completionist and you want to do everything right, that's something that you could do. That's an extra challenge, but that's a challenge I wouldn't even want to take personally.
Right.
And this game will punish you for greed. Okay. As I mentioned, you can get different power-ups. If you're greedy and you collect more than 9 power-up coins, it will send you to the torture room. And yes, it is actually called the torture room, where you have to jump 50 times without getting hit, and you have an onslaught of enemies.
Oh my God.
So it will send you to a royal palace room with no bombs and 1 million enemies, and it has a counter at the top, and you have to, and the counter says 50, and you have to jump 50 times, and every time you jump, the count, the number goes down.
Right.
And if you can jump 50 times, then you will make it through the torture room. So you have to use your power-ups, or it will punish you for being greedy and send you to, they actually call it the torture room.
I love that. I legitimately love that. That's hilarious.
So you need a strategy guide to get to the true ending. I did not get to the true ending. Okay. I got to the end. There are no boss battles, by the way, right? For a game that's a 2D 8-bit platformer of its time, and just like any other 2D 8-bit game, it looks great. Lots of colors that pop. It has things that distinguish where you are. You are in a pyramid. This is a tree. It pops. This is lava. You clearly know if you touch something that this will kill you. So, I think graphically of its time, I think it looks great. But you have no boss battles in this game, and it still gives you. It doesn't have the Royal Palace room is sort of like the boss battle, because it's the end of every stage, but it doesn't give you any boss battles. They do have secrets, but there's certain things you have to do, and certain secrets in certain levels you have to uncover, and it's all about the different bombs and the different chests and how you get them and what you get for you to get the real ending, to knock down the whole pyramid and rescue the whole royal family. If you don't do that, which I didn't, because I didn't know I had to. I thought the object of the game was just to get to the, get to the exit of each level and then collect all 24 bombs.
Right. As would any other video game. Get to the end of the stage, do the little bonus room, and keep it moving. Yeah.
You get to the last stage, you actually get to, it's as colorful and it's as colorful and distinguished as an action zone, but it's actually sort of like a royal palace zone where one of the palace members is stuck in between these blocks, and you have to jump on the block like 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have to jump on this block, 10 times without getting hit. Once you do, you can get in, you rescue one of the royal family members, and then you have to get out of it without getting hit too into the exit. So, it's not as easy as jump 10 times, get it, and then leave. You have the enemies that are all around you, and guess what? The AI in this game is smart. They're not just bouncing all around waiting for you to come out. They're bouncing where you are, literally waiting for you to touch you to kill you, right? So,
right.
So, it's, you have to, you can't just sit there and jump on it 10 times, right? You have to jump on it a few times, go somewhere else so the enemies can go somewhere else, come back, jump on it a few times. You literally have to get them to move around just so you can, jump on it. And I said 10 times. I don't know exactly how many times I jumped on it, but it definitely felt like, 10 to 12 times I had to jump on this block.
It was
to
a
clear
lot.
it. Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah. To get in and then get out. And only part of the pyramid was wiped out, and it said I saved the royal family, and that was it. When I went online just to do a little bit of research on the game, I saw that somebody cleared it with the whole pyramid wiped out, and you have saved the whole royal family from the demons. And I said, how the hell did that happen? And I looked, and it was like, well, I've passed by all of these levels without getting the secret chest, right? That's in there. And I was like, oh my God, how in the hell would I know to do that? You won't.
Right.
You need a strategy guide.
Right,
you need a strategy guide.
Right. I wonder if they mentioned any of this stuff in the manual. Maybe not. Funny
enough, the just doing the research from the game, at no point did anybody say that this was in the manual.
Okay. Yeah. I would tend to believe that, because especially back in the day, they didn't put a lot of stock in proper translation. They kind of rushed these things out the door. They were good enough. And there's a lot of stuff that was lost in translation.
I'm not saying it's not in the manual. I'm saying it's highly improbable that it is in the manual.
Yeah.
But what would be in the manual would be a little bit more background on the story of the game. Sure. So you talk about me taking bets, I'll take bet on that. That's definitely in the manual.
Same.
My nostalgia for the game got me excited to play this again, to be honest. Because I remember this in a totally different way. Like, I thought it was like I collect bombs and I throw bombs, right? Like, I don't know why I thought that, why I remembered it that way, but the game punishes you for being too greedy, which I remember having to jump 50 times. Like, I remember that part, right, as a kid. And can never understand why, but now I know, like, I'm being punished because I got too many I'm hoarding the power-ups, right? Because there are certain power-ups where you could turn blue and it gives you sort of invincibility, right? Because your Mighty Bomb Jack, you have a red suit on, and if you turn different colors, you can do different things.
Sure.
And there's other colors where you can jump, and you don't have to jump on the chest. You could just go when the chest opens, right?
Oh, I see.
So,
yeah.
So I had rose-colored glasses, and it's totally not how I remember it.
Right. Yeah. That happens.
And to be honest, I know it's called Bomb Jack or Mighty Bomb Jack, but bombs have nothing to do with the game, technically.
Well, they're just things you pick up, and that's it. Yeah.
It's coins, essentially, in Mario, right? Like it's considered like it's coins. So I wish I wish you could do more with that, right? I wish you could throw a bomb. I wish this wasn't a one hit and die situation, right? Maybe a two hit where you're a little bit bigger and you don't have to jump on the chest and you get hit and then you're small and you have to jump on the chest for it to open. I think if they would have had sort of that mechanic, that would have made it, a little bit more accessible at the time, right? And even now. That whole one hit thing and you die, I think just, they made it too hard, to be honest. Like, there is that Nintendo hard. I think this is like beyond Nintendo hard because I don't think this was ever released in an arcade. I could be wrong about that, but I didn't see anything about Mighty Bomb Jack being released in the arcade.
I know the original was. Yeah, I'm not sure about Mighty Bomb Jack, yeah.
The original was only on the arcade.
Right.
It was never. Yeah. So. Yeah. So I don't remember this. How it was. We talked about the Nintendo Power 100. There was no Metacritic back in those days. So this
didn't make the list, huh?
Didn't even make the list for Nintendo Power Top 100 games.
Not surprising. So, okay, yeah, this is kind of pre all that stuff. Didn't make the top 100. Seems like not that crazy about this game. But, as we always do, Dan, I need to know your rating. What would you give it?
I gotta give it like a 5 out of 10, and it's probably I'm probably giving it a point just for nostalgia.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't, if you like really tough games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
and I do.
That this is a game that will challenge you to the nth degree.
Okay.
And if you don't like having any, if you don't want to have any help or have any assistance, then play the regular game. Don't play it on Nintendo Online.
Right. Yeah. Playing on original hardware with the original controller. No passwords, no nothing. You got to make it through in one shot. Oof.
Yeah, it is definitely a challenging, very challenging game. It is Nintendo. I would rather play Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, or 3, and those games are hard. Yeah. All right, but at least at least in those games you get at least in those games I think you got a fair shot.
Right. Well, you do have unlimited continues. You have unlimited continues.
Yeah. This game, Lukey Games have it for $13.47.
Wow.
So it is very affordable.
That is a whole 50 cents more, just about, than Tetris, arguably the greatest game of all time. The Desert Island game. You have to answer that question to say Tetris.
Well, wow. I will say this for what it's worth. On Lukey, the people who did rate it, it got 5 stars.
Out of 100?
Out of 5.
What? They have nostalgia goggles.
the 5 people who rated it definitely nostalgia goggles on it.
Jesus. Must be all the developers of the game. That's what it is. They're coming back and buying other copies and going, now this game is a classic. Oh, that's funny. Oh, well, all right. I think that about does it. We're gonna go ahead and close the book on episode 22, and boy, was it a ride. I mean, we had some ups, we had some downs, but we had a lot of fun along the way, and I love that. I love doing the show. Dan loves doing the show, and we're gonna be back next month with a even bigger and even better show. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. Also, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance. You can check out all of the fine podcasts featured on there at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you're looking for more gaming goodness. So, please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.